evening. Welcome back to this second segment of the Glazov Gang with Dwight, Anne-Marie, and Eminem.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
We will move on to the serious issues of our time after our very brief culture moment, which is becoming the most popular segment of this show, according to our feedback and many viewers. We will begin with Dwight. Impression or imitation, Dwight? I know you don't like us to force you, but...
Well, first of all, I'd like to say right here and now that I was not killed in Texas many years ago. I'm still here. I'm still making all of the decisions. I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that America moves forward. And that's all I'm here to say.
Can you do don't ask your country what can...
Ask not what Obama can do for you, but ask what you can do for Obama.
Excellent, excellent. Anne-Marie, culture moment?
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. I'm done.
I'm going to get in trouble.
That one is going to be, that one is going to, we're probably going to have to cut that and make that its own video clip, and it'll get millions of views around the world. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Eminem, culture moment?
Now let me say this about that.
Yeah.
My lawyer is going to be talking to your lawyer. I understand that you're doing impressions of me, and Bobby and I, we don't like that.
Well, that's my brother. That's my brother.
That's your
who's
brother?
doing that. Yes,
Well,
it's my brother.
I have to go now. I have dinner with Marilyn.
Well, I'm going to go see J. Edgar, and I'll give him your number.
Okay.
Excellent, excellent. Culture moment of the Glazov Gang. Fantastic. And by the way, we have viewers now voting on the culture moment. So I'm going to give you feedback when it comes in. What does our national debt really mean? We want to get to potential solutions, but it looks like the Obama administration and its supporters don't really think that the debt is a big deal. Why don't we begin with the walking encyclopedia facts to tell us a bit about what the national debt means?
If you ask most people, particularly millenniums, and you say, what does the debt mean? They think it's something illusionary. They think it's something up there in the clouds. It's never going to affect them, and it's something they don't have to be concerned about. And I want to talk quickly because I have a lot of information to regurgitate, and I want to get through this. So a little bit of history. Bush took the debt from $5.8 trillion to $10 trillion. He did that in 8 years. Our good president, Barack Obama, has taken it from $10 trillion to $17 trillion. Now, when you ask someone what backs the dollar, their eyes glaze over. For example, we have about 150 people sitting in our audience, and I just want to throw this question out quickly. Does anyone know what backs the dollar?
Gold.
Nobody.
Gold? No, I'm sorry.
China.
China, gold, no. Here's what backs the dollar. Nothing. Nothing but the full faith and credit of the United States, and the fact that we as a people and the world perceives the dollar as having a unit of wealth, a unit of a measure of value. That's what backs the dollar. So, what is dangerous to this country and has proven to be dangerous to other countries is a real quick metric, and that is, what is our debt in relation to the total gross domestic product? And most economists would say, well, gee, if your debt gets close to 100% of your GDP, you're getting into trouble. For example, Japan, which has had 2 decades of malaise, they're about 240%. Portugal, Italy, Spain, those countries, they're about 150%. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now crossed 100%. So what does that debt mean?
And we'll tell you next week. We don't have time for this. No, I'm joking. Talk a little bit about it.
Okay. There's only a few ways to pay the debt. Now, first, the debt is money that the United States borrowed from people, from institutions, and from other governments. If some of you own a mutual fund and you look at the prospectus and it says Treasury securities, that's part of the debt. So that is real money. The only way to deal with a debt is you have to raise taxes, you have to reduce spending, or you have to monetize the debt. And monetizing the debt means let's print more money, which continues to devalue the dollar. So you can't print enough money. You can't spend your way out of deficit spending. You only exacerbate it, and you create more of the same. Ladies and
And
gentlemen,
that's what the administration is doing, right?
they are doing it.
Okay.
They've done it, and it's dangerous.
Okay. Is there a possibility that a collapse could be on the horizon if this continues?
If we were to talk about, that's a good question, if we were to talk about Armageddon and really took this to the far, far end of the example, quickly, why is gasoline, I'm going to answer your question, why is gasoline $3.50 versus $1.80? Because oil is traded internationally in U.S. dollars. As we printed more dollars, its value became less. It cost more to buy a barrel of oil. So the answer to Jamie's question is yes. As we print more money and our currency becomes worth less, and as other countries in the world print more money, as other countries print more money and their currencies become less, ultimately what can happen is an international devaluation and collapse of all currency.
Now, you're very good on the facts, but I have a feeling you're a little bit naive on one thing. Do you think that it's stupidity and naivete that Obama's doing all this, or destructive intent?
Oh.
We'll get back to you and you contemplate that. Dwight, what do you think of all this?
Well, I think it's intent. This is a carefully orchestrated attack on the United States that was implemented the moment he became president. All of this has been planned. Things don't, the idea that he's destroying the healthcare situation in this country, the website was never meant to, anybody with any experience could have created a website. Amazon.com, eBay, all of the people to do this correctly were there. They decided not to do that. This is Cloward Pittman. This is when the government starts taking out advertisements saying, you can have a car, you can have air conditioning, and you can have a house, but you can still get food stamps. And when they start putting those commercials out, and we've doubled the number of people on food stamps, we now have unemployment that's, going on 3 years? They're just going to deal with that? But that's all money coming out of the federal treasury. You destroy the health care system. You have 50% of the American people on the dole. This is an attempt to collapse. And the faith, to collapse the faith, what you mentioned, of the American people in the system that has kept us going for so many years.
And in the end, what they will say is, you see, capitalism doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Anne-Marie, how is it possible that while this is happening, we don't see this concern and worry of the people sitting here? For instance, I'm just terrified, and I've been devastated lately seeing my favorite country in the world, and it's such a precious place to live, having come from the Soviet Union, and to see people with a sledgehammer banging away at its foundations. And yet MSNBC, CNN, the country seems to be asleep. Go ahead.
I think it's really ironic, especially considering Mandela's death and the hero worship of this man who never did denounce communism. He wanted a one-party government. He said that if there was communism, it would end hunger, there would be no unemployment. Yeah. That's the kind of person that the left worships right now. That's who, and that's where I see Obama taking us. They would love to have a one-party system. They don't want anyone talking back to them. And these are reactionary. The thing that's scary to me is the same thing with Mandela. Reactionaries don't have an end game. Mandela did wonderful things. I think that he meant what his intentions were good, but what he ultimately did, he left South Africa just almost worse. He said himself that the African National Congress was worse than apartheid, the apartheid regime when he left. There's no end game. They don't have an end game for income equality, whatever that means, which is our next battle.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. It's also very interesting that the media doesn't touch at all on where South Africa is today, which is just hell on earth.
But they're all the same. Do you remember Michael Moore when he was asked, well, if we do away with this government, what are you going to put in its place? And he said, well, we haven't done it yet. We don't know. That's really the provocateur, the anarchist. And in essence, they are very good at tearing things down. They just keep coming out with new programs, and like tonight, Sebelius, with ISA sending her a letter saying, yeah, we've caught you now telling those people who are involved with this website not to talk to Congress. That's a crime. You can't intervene. They have a criminal, really, it is a criminal organization. They are above the law. They create their own laws. They move around the law, and they have an attorney general who isn't going to implement or go after anybody who is breaking the law, as long as that
They've
that
gotten
person
away
is,
with all of it, though, so why wouldn't they keep doing that?
And as long as you brought that up, and we discussed it before, the contract that was let to build the website was a one-bid contract. There were no competitive bids. And guess what? One of the people who went to college with Michelle Obama and is a close personal friend just happens to be part of CGI, the company that got the one-bid contract.
Well, there's no way that you can look at this and pretend that this is all just stupidity. When you look at his background and you look at the individuals, the leftists in Chicago, who this man has, I mean, he's been on their coats and their tails. He's been reading their literature. He's been proselytizing. And Cloward Piven at Columbia University, this is not some nutso. This was a blueprint for how you sink the United States. That was it. And anyway, that's...
Thank you, Dwight. One thing that, I mean, I don't even know where to start. It's just almost everywhere, the surreal world that we live in. What's very close to my heart is what's happening to the Coptic Christians in Egypt. And this is genocide. The church is being burnt, the beheadings, the killings, the rape gangs, all perpetrated by the Muslim Brotherhood. We have an American president that's funding and enabling the Muslim Brotherhood. So Obama's hands are drenched in the blood of Christians being butchered by the Brotherhood. And I try to say this to people, and they look at me and they go, "Are you racist?" It's just a bizarre world that we
In 1970, quickly, William Simon, who was then the Secretary of the Treasury, wrote a wonderful book. So I read this a long, long time ago. The book was called A Time for Truth. The one thing that always stayed with me in this book, if you want to bring down a society, kill its economy, devalue its currency.
And let me just say this one. It's $87 billion a month that they're
well,
printing.
that's the Fed.
Yeah.
That's quantitative easing.
Right.
And really what we're doing is we're just kind of exchanging our own dollars. We're refinancing our own debt, and we're buying government securities. That doesn't necessarily add to the deficit. What it does, it artificially keeps interest rates down, which puts a lid on real inflation. That's going to
blow.
That pressure cooker is going to blow.
Okay, I might try to get to another topic here, but before I ask a question, Anne-Marie, is there maybe somewhere with your free choice that you'd like to take the conversation?
With my free choice? You
I
mean I can choose anything.
I allow a lot of liberty on this show.
Let's talk about your book.
Excellent idea. So let's skip on that then. Anne-Marie, let's touch a little bit on this whole Obamacare. I would like to say meltdown, but it seems that even if it's a meltdown, they're just going to keep it in place and continue the destructive agenda. What's happening with Obamacare, and what are your thoughts on it?
Oh my gosh. Well, one of my husband and I, one of our personal friends, he's a dentist in a little town in Mississippi. He's been in practice for 30-something years. His rates went up 65%, and they're supposed to go up even higher in January, and he doesn't know how high. He doesn't have any idea. For the first time in his practice, he's having to lay off people. They're not getting raises. He's not sure how he's going to stay in practice. That's one little story of one person, and this is happening across the United States, and come January, we have no idea what else is going to happen with this monster.
Why do you mention January? Is there something?
Everything is supposed to change again in January, and then who knows what will happen? There'll probably be another month after that.
You wait till everybody who sells their house finds out that they're paying a 2.5% or 2.3%. 3.5%. Excuse me.
Walking Encyclopedia Facts.
Yeah. Obamacare tax. That's a lot of money on a house.
Obamacare?
Yeah.
Obamacare, I know we're coming to the end. Let me just add to what Anne-Marie said, and it'll just reinforce it. In California, 70% of the physicians are starting to realize they can't participate in Obamacare. Why? With Medicare, the reimbursement rate is $75 for an office visit. Under Obamacare, it's going to be the Medicaid rate, $25. How can a physician keep his doors open for 25 bucks? Welcome to the DMV, welcome to waiting in line, and welcome to the future of medicine, which is not seeing your physician, but a staff employee.
That's right.
Yep.
We have come to the end of this segment, just maybe a couple minutes left. The Glazov Gang Andrei Sakharov Award that went to Dwight Schultz as the Andrei Sakharov Award winner, looking into the future of 2014. In 45 seconds, what do you expect?
I see nothing but chaos. Chaos. Intensifying. I don't see Republicans, unfortunately, other than Ted Cruz and a few others, actually telling the truth about the day that someone stands up and tells the truth about who Obama is and dares to say it in the light of day. Things will change. But until then, more and more chaos in this country.
The Ronald Reagan Award winner for the Glazov Gang of 2013, looking into the next year?
I'm going to try to speak through what I think Ronald Reagan would say.
You're
I
channeling
have more
someone?
hope. I have hope. Maybe that's the old liberal in me, but I still believe that not peace on earth necessarily, but I really believe that we are going to rally. I think there are so many people who understand that are finally going to start rising up, and they're going to fight.
You think the tide might turn?
I do.
And Monty Morton,
I'll do it in 30
Armando
seconds.
Valladares Award winner for 2013.
Here's what I think is going to happen. The employer mandate is going to be effective 2015. Insurance companies who are responsible for small groups and large groups will be sending letters out to employers. Your insurance no longer qualifies under the essential benefits. We are canceling you. And the same thing that you saw in the individual market with 5 or 6 million losing coverage, I'm going to make a prediction. A year from now, I'll either look like a hero or a goat. 25 to 50 million people are going to get notices.
Wow. And what's the bad news? Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think is going to happen with the Glazov Gang in 2014?
Bigger and better. It's going to be so big, no one's going to be able to see how big it is.
And we'll be back next week on the Glazov Gang with a surprise fill-in host for Jamie Glazov that just might stay on forever. Good night.